3 years after the Karabakh War of 2020, which led to a subtle victory for Republic of Azerbaijan against Armenia, situation in South Caucasus is still tense, and the reason is clear. Baku is more ambitious to accept terms of peace between the two countries and want more and more blood and land from Armenians. Hello my friends, this is Shafiei, and as promised, you are watching our new weekly episode. Let's talk about South Caucasus, Pan-turkism, and the NATO-backed dangerous plan for this part of the world. Baku has blocked some regions in Karabakh which are still independent, trying to force them to surrender. Conditions are very critical as the region has endured several shortages of food and fuel, especially in last month. Even public transportation services were cut off, and people are suffering in hands of Ilham Aliyev, the dictator who has some plans in mind for the whole region. And what has been the reaction from the civilized world? Absolutely nothing. When there are some important issues like Ukraine, which directly bothers Europeans and Americans, who cares about Armenia and Karabakh? De facto president of Nagorno-Karabakh, Harutyunyan, announced he was joining a sit-in protest in Karabakh's central square, demanding the end of the region's 7-month blockade. He said, if within 1 week, with international mediation, the situation in Karabakh does not return to a more or less stable course, after that we will resort to tougher action. After delivering the address from his office, Harutyunyan left the government building and headed toward the nearby camps set up in recent days. The sit-in started as 1,000 rallies in Karabakh on July 14th to protest against the blockade, which has been in place to varying degrees since last December. The protest was a response to Baku's move last week to ban Red Cross vehicles transporting critically ill patients and medication from using Lachin road connecting Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh. Calls on Baku to unblock the Lachin road and lift the blockade has been unsuccessful. So far there has been negotiations, and by far the biggest sticking point in those negotiations is the fate of the Armenian population of Karabakh. Armenia has said it is willing to recognize Azerbaijani sovereignty in exchange for internationally backed guarantees for the Armenian population's right and security. Baku, however, says the fate of Karabakh Armenians is its own internal matter. This is why those regions are not under control of Baku. Now Ilham Aliyev, with support of Israel, call it USA, and Turkey, call it NATO, is pushing Armenia to get 2 important concessions. The first one is to become de facto protectorate of all Karabakh, which was not able to occupy during the war 3 years ago. And secondly, to get approval for its so-called Zangezur corridor in south of Armenia, on borders with Iran, to finalize the NATO-backed Turk corridor, which connects Turkey all through Caucasus and Central Asia to the eastern China, in order to bypass both Iran and Russia in all economic trades in future. Both of these goals, in the first place, have roots in Armenian weakness. The pro-Western government of Nikol Pashinyan prefers to get closer to the European Union and USA instead of its neighbors, which are ready to help them. In return, Iran and Russia also prefer not to support Armenia, which loves the West more than its neighbors. So the West, as always, don't care for Armenia, and neighbors are reluctant to support them. Armenia have made itself isolated and weak. The only reason the so-called Zangezur corridor is not still open is Iran. Turkey wants to get through southern Armenia to Azerbaijan and from there to the Caspian Sea. Iran sees it as a dangerous plan to cut off its border with Armenia. So Tehran has warned both Baku and Ankara that if they try to occupy this part of Armenia, Iran has no choice but to stand against them. This Turk corridor is the final product of the Pan-turkism idea, which is an extremely fundamental and racist movement. This idea was originally a product of a British spy called Armin Vambry in 1860s. He introduced this idea for the Ottoman Empire to make them stand against Russian Empire, and now see where it has led to. Genocide, crime and hunger, again rooted in British colonialism. While Iran is now the only hope Armenia have, Yerevan tries to get closer to USA and Europe. I don't get this policy. If you know the answer, please let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe and check other videos.